Hi fellow Django developers, Ezekiel here from alwaysdjango.com, where we discuss interesting Django topics that helps you grow, improve as a Django developer. So if that sounds interesting, like, subscribe, share this video with anyone you think will find this video interesting. Let's get into it. So today we are going to look at Django URLs and views, right? So we don't have a project already, we don't have a project created. This should be the fourth video in our absolute Django beginner playlist. So if you are new to Django, go and check out that playlist. I'll leave a link to it in the description, right? So you can look at it. Or if you are using YouTube, it should be popping out on your screen right now. You can click on it and look at it, right? So right now we're going to create a project, a fresh project in Django. If you don't know how to create a project, I'll not really concentrate on it in this video, right? I'll not concentrate on it. You should go to the last video. I'll also leave a link to it in the description. You can go to the last video and look at it and learn how you can create a project in Django. So I have a folder right here. Folder here is where I want to create my Django application. So I open my CMD to it. I say Django admin start project. Let me call it complete Django beginner. Right. So like I said, if you don't understand what I'm doing here, go back to the last video. I'll leave a link to it in the description so that you can look at it, right? So I cd to the project I just created. I'm using VS Code, so I want to open this project on my VS Code. I say code dot, right? This opens VS Code to the current folder, right? So my VS Code is opening. So here's my project. Here's my Django project right now. Let me open the urls.py file. If you don't know what these files here are, and the last video I also explained it in the how to create a project in Django video. I also explained it. Please go and look at it if you don't understand, right? So here's our urls.py file, right? So here we are going to look at what's the URL, right? URL are endpoints through which you access different parts of our application, of our web application, right? So the URL of, let me say your domain name is www.example.com, right? So slash, maybe you want to do slash users, you want to get the users, you say slash users slash company slash this. So those are URLs, right? If you look at here in Django, in urls.py file, this is where we create our URL files. url.py file, yeah, this is where we create our URL files, right? In your project you created, open this folder, you see this url.py file. So if you check here, here are comments from line 1 to line 15. It's just comments, so you can simply remove this if you want. You can simply remove this, right? So here you can see from, if of course if you know about Python, you should know about Django. Again, if you don't know basic principles, basic concepts of Python, this playlist should not be where you should start, right? Understand Python. So here we are doing simple import statements in Python, right? From Django.contrib we import admin, from Django.urls we import path, right? So to create a URL in Django, URL path in Django, you come to this URL patterns is equal to this list here. To add your own URL here, you can say maybe the path you want is path, let me say you want users, right? So this application, this URL now is dedicated to, maybe let me say your URL is, your domain name is www.example.com, right? What this means now, what this user means here now is that you are creating, you are telling Django, you are telling your server what should happen when you go to your domain name slash user, right? Here is slash admin. This is created by Django itself. We'll look at admin, how to use this URL in the next videos, maybe in a couple of videos to come, right? So you are telling Django right here, if a user goes to www.example.com/user, I want to do this, right? So that's what you are. This is what URLs are, right? So what are views? Views in Django, we said that Django is a model view template application, right? Framework is a model view template framework, right? So view stands in the middle. View communicates between the model, which is the database class representation, and the template, which is the user interface, the HTML user interface, right? So views are like functions. Views are functions and classes that request handling functions and classes in Django, right? So when a request comes into this URL, right, we tell this view, a view is a function or a class, we tell this view, which is a function or a class, to run, and when that view runs, it returns a response, right? Let me go to my pen, to my board right here to explain better. Let's bring this down. Let's bring this down, this down, this down, this down, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that when you say, let's say you create a URL for users, right? You create a URL for users, right? We want to tell Django that when a request comes in here, right here, for this users URL, here is your domain name right here, maybe www.example.com/users, right? We want to create a Django function. This can also be a class. Let's say a Django function named users, right? A Django function named users. So this Django function, we are going to tell Django to run this function when this URL is called. So this is what we are trying to do here. We are simply trying to map out a URL path right here and create a function, and in some way we want to tell Django to run this function when a request is made to this URL path, right? So that's what I'm trying to explain. Let's go back to our code. Right here, right? Let me clean this up. So we have created our URL path. We have created our URL path here. So the next thing is, let's create our function. So let's say function is, this is how you create a function in Python, right? Let's say the name of our function is user, right? So a view, what makes this function, what differentiates it from an ordinary function in Django, what makes it a view in Django, is that Django passes in a request dictionary, right? This request is a dictionary, so all your views in Django will get this request argument. It's with this request argument you can find the request path, the request domain, the request user when we get to authentication and things like that. So the view is a request handler. Django views are request handlers, handling functions or classes that accepts the request, right, and returns a response, right? What does that explain? We're expected to return a response. So let's say we return a response here, and the response type is a HTML response type. In Django we have different HTML response type, and they are found in Django.http. What we are expecting is a HTTP response type. Is a HTTP response type, right? HTTP response types in Django are found in Django.http, right? So here there are many methods right here. We can import HTTP request, HTTP response, HTTP bad request, HTTP forbidden, response forbidden, HTTP gone, right? Different type of HTTP response right here. So but right now we're simply going to import HTTP response, right? So we're going to return HTTP response right here. So this HTTP response will accept an argument. The argument is maybe anything you want. Let's say the argument right here is maybe all the users, right? So right now we have created the function, we have created the path we want to handle, we have created the function. Now what we want to do is tell Django to run this function when we go to this part. Now to do that, this part accepts 3 arguments. 2 are compulsory, 1 is optional, right? The first one is obviously the path, which are specified here, The second one is the view handler, right? Which is the request handler, which is the view, right? The name of our view, who is guessing it? Who is guessing the name of our view? The name of our view, like we said, a view is a request handling function or class in Django that accepts the request argument and returns a response. And what fits this definition right here? We have this function right here. So we are going to use user, right? That's it. I said it accepts another argument, the third argument, which is optional. The name of the third argument right here is name, right? User, right? And in the next tutorials, we'll get to understand what we use this name argument right here to do. It's very important, but in the next tutorial we'll get to discuss it, right? So if I was you, I will subscribe and turn off the notification to stay updated in case we release such videos, right? So we have created the path right here, we have created the view, and we have created the path right here, we have created the view, and we have assigned the view to the path, right? So let's go to our terminal. Now we want to start up our application. Right now our application is not running, right? We want to start up this application, right? So let's open our terminal. In VS Code, we just go to this terminal, this menu bar right here, go to terminal and click on new terminal, right? It opens up our terminal to this application. Let me use CMD right here. Opens our application to this style. So to run your request, your development server in Django, you say python manage.py run server, right? Python manage.py run my server. That's what it's saying, right? So right here we have some warnings, right? You have 18 on apply migrations. We'll get into migration database and making migration and all the rest in next video. So right now all we want to do is just test this application. We have created a path, we have created a view, and we have mapped it out, right? So if you see what is written here, we said starting development server at http://localhost port 80, right? So this is where our application, our local server is running. So let's go and check. So right here is saying path not found. If you understand what we did right here, if you come here, you will see that we have no path right now. This URL is going to our home URL, but we have not assigned the home URL. What we have assigned is the /user URL, then /admin, which was assigned by Django. So we'll go to /user, right? And we see all the user, right? All the users, whatever. So but we see all the user right here. And if you go back to our HTTP response, right here we are returning our view. Right here we are returning a HTTP response with all the user, right? We can also make this a HTML. You can also make these HTML tags. Let's say h1, this h1, right? Let's go back to our browser. Go back users, let's return. So we are returning a h1 right here. So this is a very simple side note here is that, guys, we don't do this in Django. We do not do this in Django. We do not create functions inside our url.py files, right? So in the next tutorial we will look at how to do that better, right? And again, if you look at this is not how we want to, like, you know that we should return a HTML template, a HTML file to the user, and not just a simple HTTP response. And there is no how we write a full HTML code inside this tag, right? Inside this argument right here. So in the next tutorial, we will look at how to return a template file, right? A .html file, right? So that you can write your CSS, HTML, or JavaScript in your .html file. So that's it for me, guys. I hope you have learned something. You have learned how to edit your url.py file, creating URLs and views for your Django application. I hope you have learned something. Take care of yourself. Subscribe, turn off the notification. We are releasing new videos, guys. If you are new to Django, this is the playlist for you. You can't miss it, right? So we are going in depth on everything from what is Django to how to deploy your Django application, right? So subscribe, turn on the notification. Have a nice day. Take care of yourself. Peace.